issues that day. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the FEI podcast. My name is Todd Kelly, writer, creator of Sheldor the Defender, Atlas Rising, the Project Titans, and other stuff that's being worked on and such is life. Also, one of your hosts today of the FEI podcast. We are back. I think we took last week off. I don't remember, but we are back, and we have another special guest with us today. We are fully staffed today, and looking forward to having a lot of fun. So I'm going to let all the gents introduce themselves. Swerve, I'm going to kick it over to you first because you're to my right.
I am the Swerve, the human juggernaut.
Is it a verb?
Humanitarian rapper / actor, producer, Swerve Comics owner, writer, artist, creator, hardcore Chronicles of the Hit Squad, Beyond the Red Door. I'm bad. I'm Michael Jackson bad and LL Cool J bad. Nick, I'm going to pass it down to you, baby. It's all you, Nick. Go.
Oh, welcome back, everybody. It is Nick, part of the Project Titan sales team. And as you can see, I finally got it below. Emperor of everything Todd does not want to do. So appreciate you back. Marcus, welcome for being here.
Yeah, well, I'm Marcus Roberts. I am the COO of Second Sight Publishing. Also a freelance writer, comic book creator, the creator protector, collection editor for Mississippi Zombie, for Harvest of Horrors, for Shook, the anthology, editor for These Damn Kids, for Victoria Black. You know, I'm like I do it all.
Yeah, everything you just went. We're going to cover a whole hour and a half talking about everything you got, and I'm excited. And I told you the first question we're going to ask, so I'm just going to throw it out there and we're going to talk about it. So you just listed 37 projects that you're over, which are all amazing. How did you get started? Like, where did you start? How did you get into this?
Oh, I've been in the comics all my life. Like, I was a stereotypical sneak comics in the classroom and get taken by the teacher kid. Open up your notebook and you're supposed to be reading something and the comic in the middle. That was me for real. I was to the point where like I would try to sneak back in after school to take my comic books out of the desk. I was that serious. And I have always been that serious about comic books. It's just like it never left me. I'm what they call a generational comic book reader because my father actually read comic books. My brother read comic books. My brother's 4 years older than me. So I come from a comic book lineage. But I always saw myself doing something in comics. It's just I really didn't know what or when, but even back then, I just saw myself doing something in comics. And that's how I got my start with comics. Just a comic book reader, being a comic book lover.
So now what were some of those titles that the teachers were taking away? What were you reading?
Well, I actually started out reading just like every other kid, superhero titles, the Avengers, Fantastic Four. We're talking in the mid-70s. So, but I switched somewhere around, I guess, 7th or 8th grade to horror. I mean, I really got dug deep into the horror comics. And that's really where I stayed for a long time, just with horror comics. And then from horror comics, I developed a love for Conan the Barbarian, the Savage Sword, big black and white mag. I collected that from like issue maybe 78 to issue 300 and something. Like I never missed an issue of that book. And that kind of took me through the 80s. And as I was coming into the 90s, I hopped back on the comics and really got on the independent comic scene and started collecting some of the independent comics of the day.
Nice. I love that. So what were some of the indies? What were some of the indies that you picked up around that time? Because that's I love picking up the indie books. I'm one of the guys that anytime I go around the con, we're talking about cons before we went live. Like I'm that guy that buys like every indie artist or indie writer who's got a book. Like you're going to see me over the weekend, and if you even have a semi decent pitch, I'm probably going to buy your book. So like, what were some of the like? Did you pick up anything that was cool that you're just like, man, that was awesome?
Well, the thing about the '90s that was very specific, especially for me, was it was what they call the Black Age of comics. So you started seeing a lot of comics from Black independent comic book publishers, publishers like Anaya, Mariah Graphics, the Jonathan Fox series, which was one of my favorite. Of course, you had Brother Man there, and then I found out about Image, but I found out about Image through Tribe.
Okay.
Tribe. I got some Tribe now still.
Yeah, Tribe was a historic book, man. It sold over 1 million copies in the 90s. So, yeah, it was titles like that. I mean, it's a big list of books, but I really started getting more into, I saw this Black Age of comics happening, and I saw all these comic books coming from these Black publishers, and I started purchasing a whole bunch of those. Even going with Milestone, you didn't go through the 90s without having some Milestone comic books. So, yeah, I got some Static and some Blood Syndicate and some Hardware and Icon as well.
Nice.
You seem to know what you're talking about.
All right, Jens, what you got?
But like you was naming off all those characters and stuff like that, Milestone, Tribe, and everything like that. I got a lot of those as well too. But what motivated you to? I know you said you generational book. What was the main spark that drove you to that to want to write your own things and do your own thing?
Well, I am a writer. Before I'm a comic book creator, I am a writer. So I have always been writing. I have written autobiographies. I've written menus. I'm a writer. So, and being a writer, I was actually working at the World of Black Heroes website and doing interviews and writing articles and writing reviews and doing things of that nature. And some of the people whom I would come across and would read my writing and know my knowledge of comic books, they suggested that I write a comic book. So I kind of let that go for a year or two. And then I talked with Tony Cottrell Tony Cottrell of Advent Comics. And he was one of those guys that said, look, man, you need to write a comic book. And he said, look, I have my own company. So if you write the book, I'll publish it. So I wrote the book. I wrote my first comic book, The Protector, and Tony published it over there at Advent. And it actually was nominated for a Glyphs Comics Award in 2019, the Rising Star Award.
Heck yeah, that's absolutely awesome.
Yeah, so the writing part was the easy part. And then even where I'm at now, doing what I do now, I got 3 decades of business experience. So walking into the comic book industry with 3 decades of business experience, then knowing the business end of comics became important. And once I learned the business end of comics, then that's where I saw that it's really some moves that we see these bigger companies make that they're actually there for any comic book company to take advantage of. It's just positioning yourself to do
it. Okay. So tell us those moves, sir. We're listening.
You know what? See, I can throw some hints, but we do have at least 8 titles that have been optioned through Papa Octopus Productions, run by Kevin Makeley. We have titles that are going to be appearing and images that are going to be appearing in a major motion picture being released this summer. We're in discussions now having another one of our titles, because we already have a couple of titles that we published that are actually distributed through one of the larger comic book companies with Caliber Entertainment. But we're in discussions with an even bigger publisher to publish and distribute some second sight properties. So the business moves are the moves are there. It's just taking advantage of it, being aggressive, taking advantage of it, not settling. The same work ethic that I had outside of comics, which was I didn't join the company to stay at the bottom.
Yep.
That same work ethic out of comics I bring into comics. So yeah, it's weird. Look, it's 2023, and if you call yourself owning or running a publishing company and aren't making moves, then you're going to stagnate.
Yeah, definitely. Well, and it's interesting, and I want to get into Second Sight and kind of how you ended up there, and we'll get to there in a second. So we do have a comment here for a question, and the question is, as you are writing, how difficult is it to get to the artist to bring your characters to life the way you envision them in your head?
I'm not so much so a micromanager.
Mhm.
So an artist that I'm working with, I try to meet them, even if it's not halfway. If they don't have my exact vision down, and I can talk with them and get them to reshape and still be true to their own vision of what they see my artwork to be, because I mean they're working on the script. So not unless you're the type of script writer that you micromanage and say, my character has brown eyes and arched eyebrows and a slanted nose and thin lips. If you aren't going in that kind of detail, then you give that artist the freedom to read your script, to have the vision of the scene that's going on, and then to draw what he sees. And then you just meet him halfway, meet him somewhere. Sometimes it's like what they see may be even better than what you initially saw.
Yeah.
So, you find that symbiotic relationship where you all are working together. You have that give and take, and you allow freedom. And you'll be surprised what your artist can do when you just turn them loose.
I think you're spot on, man. I think a lot of times one of the biggest mistakes writers make is trying to micromanage the artist too much. I think if you let your artist, put their feel and their vibe into it, it just, again, they take ownership of it as well. And once they do that, I mean, they like you said, they're unleashed, like they run with it. And then you've got them bought in, and they do such a better job, in my opinion.
Well, it's just like when you take your car to the mechanic, he's not going to let you stand over his shoulder and say, hey, I think that screw needs to be loosened. He's not going to let you do that. So if you consider yourself having someone professional working for you, then you don't stand over their shoulder. They're pro for a reason. Yeah, that's what I wait. Yeah.
It's a great point, and I'll take it even a step further. Look, honestly, I'm just not an artist. Like, I'm just going to trust my artists and let them roll with it. Like, I'm not one. So, like, if they did it for a certain reason, there's usually a pretty good reason behind it. Like, there's something to it. There's a method to the madness, as opposed to, nah, man, I just wanted it this way. Like it's usually like a really good reason they did it that way.
Yeah.
So very cool, very cool. So let's talk Second Sight, and then I want to talk about your T-shirt in a minute. But let's talk about your role. How did you find your way to Second Sight, and then let's kind of talk about your role there.
Well, as I said, I was working at the World of Black Heroes, and I would always reach out to different people that I saw moving up in the industry, and just talk to them. Talk about interviewing them, get to know them, get to know their books, that type of thing. And in 2018, I saw Bradley Golden, and at the time he was going by Second Sight Studios. Okay. But I saw Bradley. I noticed the Leave on the Light title, the cold-blooded titles he was doing, and I was really into him. And I reached out and started talking to him. And this was right around the time I was getting serious about creating a comic. Mm-hmm. And Bradley said, look, man, I got this thing I'm doing called Mississippi Zombie that I want to make an anthology out of, or I'm interested in doing a story for it. And I was like, yeah, I bet. So it started out with Mississippi Zombie. And then just from he and I talking and him realizing that I kind of knew what I was talking about, different business thing. We said, hey, let's go ahead and take Second Sight Studios to the next level and make it Second Sight Publishing. And the rest is history.
There you go. The rest was history. That's freaking awesome. Well, very cool. And I mean, what were kind of, again, those next steps? I mean, how did you, it's one thing to say, cool, I want to turn this into a publisher. But I mean, what was kind of that first thing where you're just like, all right, cool, this is where we're going? Like, what was that next step for y'all?
Well, like I said, he and I had conversations before we actually agreed to go into the business venture. Mm-hmm. And one thing that I have been talking about amongst independent comic book creators for years is understanding the distribution network. Because if you don't have an understanding of the distribution network, if you don't have an idea as to once you have your finished product, how you're going to get it out to the masses, how you're going to get it to the retailers. If you don't have any type of marketing plan, if it's business. It's more than just creating the comic book, because at some point that's going to be easy.
Right.
You're going to be able to write scripts and hire artists and have them produce that book. But what are you going to do with it once it's produced? Now, some people settle for putting it on the website, and that's good, but you do things in reverse now. You try to drive traffic to your website, which you're competing against hundreds, thousands of other websites, because you have to drive traffic. You have to make people come to your website to get your stuff. And that takes a lot of effort. If anyone has never tried driving traffic to a website, let me tell you, it's not as easy as driving to work, no matter how difficult your drive to work may be. It is a labor-intensive type thing, because you have to understand analytics. You have to understand different aspects of marketing and target audience and all that other crap that you don't want to understand because you just want to be writing a script or drawing a comic book.
Basically, exactly.
So you have an understanding of distribution networks. And then once you understand the distribution network, you may see that if you can't actually obtain any other type distribution outside of your website, then joining with a publisher who may have that distribution is an option. Now, the truth about that, the realism about that is you give up a percentage. And if you aren't looking to give up a percentage, then that's not an option for you. And if you don't mind giving up a percentage, then that's, you can pursue it that way. Other than that, it is finding distribution networks, whether it's digital, whether it's some of these smaller distribution people who may only have a regional area of stores that they actually distribute to, but that regional area of stores is more than just your hometown.
Right.
True.
Yeah, completely agree.
It's understanding, and like I said, I've been talking this for years and having this type of conversation with Bradley, and he was like, okay, yeah, we need to apply these theories to an actual business.
Yeah. And so you guys are on with Diamond, right? Is it Diamond or Luna that you guys are with?
We were initially with Diamond,
okay.
And we kind of stepped away from Diamond, and from what we were seeing, it may have been a good move, particularly because of what the reports have been recently about them overcharging people.
Yeah.
We are or have been pursuing distribution now through Lunar. We have been. They are reviewing review process, I guess. If it's the same thing that happened with Diamond, we waited 8 months with Diamond.
Really?
Wow.
It was like hurry up and wait.
Yeah.
But when it happened, it's like they called us up and said, "Hey, you ready? You own."
It's like, I hope you got a book ready to send me next week.
Yeah. So when it happens, it happens. In the meantime, we do have other distribution networks digitally.
Yeah.
We actually have a distributor up in Canada to take care of our Canadian fans. We have a huge fan base in Canada. We love you all. Keep buying our stuff. We actually, because one of the writers on the book, the These Damn Kids title, the co-writer, Peter Broke. Peter is Canadian. And because of that, we were able to get our book nominated for the Sequential Magazine Indie Comic of the Year. And we actually are just waiting to hear the results of it.
Sir, we just want you to know that we want you to know we don't like you showing off and everything. We don't appreciate that, but we understand what you're doing. You're great. We're just going to tell you that I had a schedule. Go on.
Not great, just hard working. Like I said, bringing that work ethic that I had from outside of comics, inside of comics, that is the difference maker.
True. You're right. I mean, anything that's worth having is you got to work hard for it. And I ever since I know you've always been on the hustle. You've been on the grind, and you keep moving, making progress forward and stuff like that. That's why I have a small picture of you in my office with candles on each side of it, and it's like I throw a little holy water at it like every morning before I leave and stuff. So it's a good thing. It's good, real good.
Now you're gonna make me tell on you, but Marvin and Todd has seen this himself when we're doing cons, right? Before Marvin actually dropped the book, Marvin was pimping the Swerve merchandise, everybody knows
what you're talking about.
Walking around with Swerve T-shirts, they walking around with Swerve hats. They got Swerve posters, and I'm like, brother, you are doing well, and you ain't even got a book. Right?
Same thing I told Todd. If I put my logo on something, I'm gonna sell it to you.
And I always admired that. I mean, for real, I always admired that because you knew where you were going, and you took an opposite route. Most people will get their book, and then they start doing the merchandise and try to do things like that. You were like, no, I'm going to put my stuff out here so they can see. So when the book hits, the people are going to be ready. They're going to be hungry for the book, which I know they will, because I got my copy.
Sir, you're a very proud owner of one of those hardcore Chronicles of the Hit Squad. That is the unshameful plug I just did right there.
Check it out. It's awesome. Well, so Marcus, it's funny you bring that up because I used to always laugh because I always felt like you did the hard part first. Like I was just like, man, like you got all the merch and you're out there hustling the merch without even having the book. But you were like, I used to joke with you because I was like, man, selling the T-shirts, like you're selling the more profitable stuff before you even have the book.
That's what I realized.
The book's gonna be the least profitable part you have.
Look, I did it. I did it the way George. I did it like George Lucas. You keep for the toys, the marketing and everything, man. You sell off everything else, but you keep that the advertising, the marketing, and everything like that. The merchandise is where you made all his money off of. Because you remember when Star Wars first hit, man, you go in any toy store, man, they had them little small little toys, man, and all that money went back to Jordan. I followed that plan, but he did have the movie first. I still messed it up, but I still came back to it the right way around.
Nah,
but dude, man, I have to sell 6 books trying to make like $30, and you sell a T-shirt and a poster, and you $50 up in the game.
Yep. I mean, I remember.
Somebody bought a book for me. They spent $5 and they walked by wearing the Swerve T-shirt. They just paid $5 for.
Oh man, I was just selling art, man. I put my art on anything I put it on, and it was selling. It was working. It was good. I like that. It still works now, so I'm glad I went that route. But like you say, as long as it was hard work, man, and it was just determination. And like I said, after I seen you guys doing y'all thing, man, I was like, man, and every time I see Marcus, where the book at, man? I'm like, dude, the book coming, man. I was like, we had COVID. It was a hurricane. The Ninja Turtles jumped before I got here. They stole, but the dog ate my homework. I was like, give me a minute, man. I'm putting it together. I promise you. And then finally dropped, and he was like, okay, then. I'm like, now he's like, wait a second. But I'm like, didn't you ask for the first?
Where's number 2?
Yeah, I'm like, slow your roll, man. Buy a T-shirt.
But Todd is not gonna get out of this. He's not gonna escape this because, like, when I first met Todd, like I said, we were at the Lakeland Con. When I first met Todd, he had like issue 1 of like Project Titans, and then I saw him maybe a few months later. He had issue 1 and 2. And then, like, I saw him the next year, it was Project Titans and Atlas Rising. And then, like, I saw him a few months later, it was Project Titans, Atlas Rising, and a third book. And he got like 3 or 4 issues of Project Titans. And I'm like, yeah, bro, I see you, man. I see you out here doing your thing.
And then we've been stuck on 6 for a while. So this is where it gets funny, though, right? And it is what it is. But, like, I don't know about y'all, but I've run into this where, like, I have a certain price point I'm really good at selling at. And I got really good at selling, like, those 6 books. Like, I had 6, then I had 1 Atlas, or I had 2 Atlas, I think. And I got really good at packaging those together. And it was just a really good price point. And I had inventory, and everybody kept asking, like, when's 7 or 8 coming? And, like, I just kept working on the scripts for 7 and 8. And, I was just like, man, I'm going to get these done soon. But, like, I was still selling 1 through 6 and 1 and 2 Atlas, and they were just selling great. And, like, it was kind of one of those things where I was always afraid, like, if I put out the next 2 books, it was just like, I don't know. Like, is that going to mess it up? Am I really going to make much more money? Because I don't know if I'm going to be able to move the price point that much. You know what I mean? But I will say I got over that fear, and I'm going to do a Kickstarter, and I'm going to have fun with it. But for the longest time, like, I found success the way I was doing it, and I kind of didn't get out of that success mold. Like, I just stayed there and didn't mess with it. But now
it's hard to say no to money.
Hey, man, it really is. It's hard to say no to it. And again, also, like, I'm to a point now where if I show up at some of these same cons again and still only have 1 through 6, like, they're gonna run me out. So I gotta have 7 and 8 ready by the time I make it to Tampa this year, or they're gonna beat me up. But it's funny though. So Tampa, because Swerve, and I'm gonna say this last piece. Sorry to pick on you, but I remember walking around Tampa before we even attended as a vendor. Okay, so before we even had our book done, me and Nick are walking around Tampa. Marvin, we haven't met yet, but I remember seeing your table, and I remember people walking around wearing the Swerve T-shirt. And then I remember later that year is when we did the con that all 3 of us were at that con, I think. And we met you for the first time. And I remember, like, when you told me you didn't have your book, I'm like, there's no effing way. Like, I saw your stuff in Tampa. Like, what are you talking about? You have to have a book. Like, I saw like 37 T-shirts that got sold. Like, what? And sure enough,
I don't know what
I was
you're
absolutely blown
about.
away. But like you said, Marcus, like, I mean, he was just absolutely killing the game. And I mean, again, was able to make a profit and make money on the business side of it without even having his book yet. Like, that's hype. Like, I think the only thing, if you could go back and do it, is like, put a QR code on every single thing you sell, and track everybody. That way you can hit them up whenever the book actually came out and flood it to them.
I don't know what you two are talking about. This is my first con be this year.
Don't make me.
2023. But no, seriously, no, man. But it was just with me. It was just I took my art. People like the art, so I just took the art. I slapped it on stuff, man, and I let the art sell itself. That was just it. People like the art, and then I had, I told you, Todd, I can sit there and tell you all the stories. If I wanted to, I can sit there and do storytelling and just tell you about all my characters, because it's all in my head. So I know how the stories go. I know how I wanted it to act and everything and stuff. So in my head, I didn't think about, should get the book out first. No, just put some of the characters on some stuff and see if everybody liked the characters first. And then people was coming to the tables. I was like, yo, you got to come. I'm like, yeah, it's coming out. But yo, peep the characters though, man. Let me know if you like the characters. Look at the story. You know what I'm saying? And people asked about the story. I was getting interviews and everything, man. It was like, yeah. And it was like, well, tell us something about the story. And so I tell them the story, and everybody was like, yo, that's going to be hot when it come out. I'm like, yeah. Hey, get a shirt. I got a post over here, too.
Hey,
But it
Look,
worked.
I got 2 posters in my son's room right now.
So
I was about to say,
it worked.
I
It worked,
think I got a
man.
poster in the garage, like flat out from one of the shows we bought it, and I ended up putting all the art in the garage. But like, yeah, I think I've got one of your posters.
I got all y'all books right over here, right beside me, man. All the books right here in my little file right here, from Protector and everything. I still got all the books that I got from Utah and everything. So, and I keep all my art. When I buy my art, I got some of my posters back here on the wall, but other posters are down here. I just gotta get in here one day and finish hanging them up all on my wall, because how I was trying to do it was put so many inches apart, so I have enough room to put all them. But that's it, man. I keep everything. If I got something from you, I still got your art. I still got the comics and stuff. I done read them. I done looked through them and stuff like that. And you know what I'm saying, Marcus, I got that little shrine over there in the corner for you. Got little with the candle bit on the side right now. But it's just, that was just my mentality. Maybe it was crazy, but it worked. And people look at the art and they be like, "Wow, you're an incredible artist." I'm like, I write too. And they be like, "For real though?" I was like, "Yeah." And then I tell them a story and they'd be like, "Wow, well, let me get that right there, man. I can't wait till the story comes out." I'm like, "Yeah, cool." And then when the book dropped, it was like, that was no problem. Everything just went from there. So, like I say, everybody got an angle and stuff in how it works. Because, like I said, I remember when I met Todd and Nick, and cats was down there, I was like, y'all taking some money from me, man, out of my pocket. I don't appreciate it. Let me go down here and see what these boys doing.
Oh yeah, we were right across from you. Yeah.
Todd was selling everything. He had underwear, T-shirts, socks.
Bro, we didn't even have a tablecloth at that first show. So
we stole a table.
Yeah, we stole a table. It is what it is. Marcus, so we brought up cons. What was your first con like as a vendor? What was your first one?
My first con as a vendor was the Lakeland Con.
Was
the
it
very first Lakeland Con I did? Yeah, because what happened was the year before, I did the Daytona Con, but I was just doing panels. I did Daytona and I did one other con, and I was just doing panels.
Yeah.
But as a vendor, that next year was the Lakeland Con, and the Lakeland Con, as you all know, is like first con of the year.
Yep, it is.
Yeah, it's in January. Yeah,
it's always January.
That's why I can't ever go. We've talked about this.
So I think I had something like 34, 35 books, and sold out.
Nice.
Over that 3-day period, because it started out the 3 days. Sold out
3 days.
And I was like, "Oh man, I sold out," and have never done it again. But still, that was the best feeling. And then you have those factors that say, "Oh, you just had 35 books." Like, man, this is my first con. This is my first book. Like, I sold out. That was the biggest effing deal ever, because it was me. It was new. And then there's like I really started just appreciating going to cons. But that first one, that Lakeland Con, it was big. Like, I remember for that Sunday, because that Friday and Saturday, basically I was down to like 29 books, and I had to come home and ask my daughter, like, "Hey, did I give you a book? I need to take your book from you."
Let me get that book real quick. I'll bring you another one back.
I'll give you another one. I order some more.
Yeah, I'll give you a second printing.
That was big. It was fun. And this was during the time when I don't know, they don't do this as much now, but the independent comic book creators here in the state of Florida, we made a conscientious move to try to all be located in one area, so you would have this independent artist alley. Mm-hmm. So you would get to a section and it might be 7 or 8 guys, and they're all independent comic book creators. And as people walk through, because we were all friends and we were all connected, then I see somebody looking at my stuff and they're asking me questions, and I can say, "Well, you might want to go check Todd out." Or vice versa, because we we all knew each other. We are
Yeah.
we a big support system.
True that.
And as short-lived as that was, when we first started doing that, it was big, and it actually made the whole con experience a lot better because now you're in this area with a bunch of your friends.
Right.
Like that, the actual sales competition goes down because everybody wants to win. We all want to see, I want to see Marvin selling his artwork. I want to see Todd selling his books. And I know they want to see me selling my stuff as well.
Mhm.
So that, like I said, that sales competition level kind of comes down. And now it's more about, just enjoying the show.
I like that. And unfortunately, I don't know that the people still try to put that together. Because I swear to you, man, I get put in some of the most random spots ever. Like I swear to you, whoever like picks my tables is just like, I really want to mess with this guy. We're gonna put him next to like nothing comic related. Like
Been there, done
yeah.
that. I got stuck I got stuck one show by this vendor who was selling like pillows
Yep, been there.
and like the people were buying that stuff up. So after they spent $35 on this pillow or this other fluffy little toy that they got of different characters, they walk and buy the comics. And then like I would get excited because I would see kids approaching and the kids run right by running for the SpongeBob fluffy doll. This is the absolute worst spot. But the worse than that is attending a con where the balance is off. And by that, I mean, you'll have 5 or 6 actual comic book creators. And then you got 10, 11 comic book stores or comic book vendors with the long boxes. Now everybody's spending up their money getting back issues of books. And they're like, it's like hard to compete. But when these people are selling books for $1, should I get 20 books or 2 books?
Right.
20, 2. And they're going with the 20 every time.
Yeah, I mean, you're spot on. It's funny you mentioned that one, and you mentioned the balance, and it's so funny because I've thought that so many times about cons. It's just when I don't know, I'm sure everyone does this, but like after I set my table up, I immediately just go walk around and like find what's there, what's going on, like what else, again, which one of my friends are there, like, who can I, when I talk to people, who can I send them to, stuff like that, where are they at? But also, again, I'm looking to see kind of it is what it is, but like, what's my competition? Like what's my competition for their money and their time when they're there. And, again, you kind of sizing it up. And I mean, I'm pretty arrogant. So very rarely am I like, I can't outsell this person. But at the same time, like if they've got, a really cool product and a great price point, it's like, okay, cool. How are we going to compete with this? Like what's going on? And for us, I think, again, the worst show we ever had, and it wasn't any type of competition with vendors, but it was just simply the way they placed everything. They put all the vendors on one side of the hotel, and then they put all the autographs like a mile, like it wasn't a mile, but it was just on the complete other side of the hotel, to where like we were basically paying for the big celebrities to be there. And they just were basically, people were going in and getting all their autographs and weren't even aware that like we were on the other side. And that was the worst setup. We've been able to push through a bunch of them, but that was the one where I finally was just like, whatever, I'm going to go eat Wawa. That was a rough one.
I think for me, I did a con in November, like the end of November. This was actually the beginning of December.
Okay, it's a tough time.
And here I am trying to push comic books. Yeah. And everybody else, every other vendor has got toys, toys and trinkets. And even though they call this a comic book convention,
it was not comic book related.
And they wanted to buy the toys. So it was like I struggled, and I mean struggled just to make my table back and the gas money.
Yeah.
And I've actually been to cons where I hadn't made the table back. It's like just been a total waste of my time to go.
So we
so
thank you for saying that stuff, but we know it's not true. Going back to you, Todd.
Look, man, when you actually are out there hustling, trying to make money from these cons to pay bills, and not just doing it because it's a notch up in your resume, or you going just really to see people. But when you're actually out there hustling, pushing 3 to 4 cons a month, then some of the shows you do, it happens. Every show can be a great show. And if I run into a person who says that, then I call BS on that, because it's not, every show is not a great show. Everybody has a show that they're like, man, I could have stayed home.
You're right about that one. I remember a couple like that. When you get there, you be like, man. When you get there, you know it's bad because all the vendors have bought stuff from other vendors.
Yeah, when the vendors are only shopping each other, that's when you're
the
like,
vendors are shopping each other. That's when it's bad. That's when it's real bad.
Oh no, I can top that. I was at a con last year. I'm not going to name the con, but it was in the fall of the year, and within the first 2 hours, the person a couple of tables down from me packed up and left.
Oh,
2 hours.
Ooh.
Yeah.
The con started at 10. They were gone by 12. By 1, 2 more people were gone. I was going to try to stick it out because I was like, it's got to be some people coming. It's got to be some people coming. But yeah, now, when the vendors start packing up, what type of show is happening.
That's bad.
Yeah, that's bad.
Well,
So now,
can I ask you this question, Marcus? Not to cut you off, Todd. Can I ask you a question, Marcus? Since now you got Second Sight and everything going on, how is doing the cons different now for you from when it was back in the beginning? Because now is it more business orientated, or do you try to keep it fun? You know what I'm saying? I mean, what's the differential for you?
The biggest thing, and for all you comic book creators out there, listen to this. The biggest thing, being Second Sight, publishing books in the mainstream, getting mainstream distribution. I'll qualify for a pro badge. Before, I didn't. I actually applied for a con, and they told me straight up I was not known in the mainstream, so I couldn't get a pro badge. Applied to the same con, and they're like, "Hey, Second Sight Publishing, yeah, here you go. Congratulations."
That'll do it. All right, Marvin, we got to open up publisher, buddy. Figure it out.
Get your LLC. Start there. Get your LLC. Once you get your LLC, you have your legitimate business. If you're going to go into publishing, then you start doing what book publishers do, which is start making contact with stores. Hit up Walmart, like, yo, can I put my stuff in your store? Reach out to retail stores. I know, and you all know some of the same people that they started getting distribution of their titles through other publishers. They had good relations with retail shops, and these retail shops would steadily purchase their stuff, and they reached out to other retail shops, and they developed their own retail shop network. So there you go. Now that'll be $100.
That'd be I'd say that's
What's your cash out?
You can send the bill. I don't know if it's gonna get paid. I don't have a con for a little bit. So we'll see what's up.
Black Hero Marcus. But for real, man, it is. If you're serious about it, the ways to do it is there. I mean, people aren't doing anything fancy in order to get started. They just know the business acumen, and knowing the business acumen, then you follow the path in order to get, as I said, your LLC, limited liability corporation.
Yeah.
And then from there, you move forward doing what book publishers do.
Yeah. No, I get that, and that's it's great advice for anybody who wants to get out there and do it. But also know it is a absolute ton of hard work, and like Marcus said, it got him his pro card, and they're doing big and awesome things with it. And for everyone, every one that starts out there, 10 that start out, and you get one that actually kind of pushes through and makes it happen. So just know it's there's a lot to it, and it's interesting. So we talked about that. So, Marcus, you were actually one of the first people who gave me, I'm going to say, really honest critiques, and it was really cool. So, was that it was Lakeland show where we were talking, and you were one of the first people that took an editor's perspective on my first book, and just gave me honest, genuine, real feedback on that. And I've always wanted to say thank you for that. So, thank you. Because it was one of the first people that, again, look, all my friends and everybody takes it, looks at it. And when you're selling it to somebody, again, I'm a decent salesperson, so it is what it is. People, even if they look at the art and aren't a big fan of it or aren't a big fan of this or a big fan of that, I'm going to sell them the story and they're going to buy it and they're going to roll with it. But you were one of the first person that looked at it from again, an editor or a publisher perspective and gave me real good feedback. And that was very cool. And again, I'm very appreciative of that. It also made me kind of be more open to receiving that type of feedback. And it was really cool. And again, I enjoyed it. And I'll encourage anybody who's out there trying to do this or trying to make it happen. Do not be afraid to ask for that type of feedback, especially when you get in the presence of somebody like a Marcus who is extremely very very knowledgeable and again willing to share that. So.
Well, you're welcome, man. I'm glad that I could help because when as I said, working for the World of Black Heroes and doing that and just gaining the knowledge that I gained from there. And then from there, the ICC Independent Creators Connection group there on Facebook. I've been a member of that group since we were 600 people. I think we're pushing 15K now.
I was going to say, this is at least 10, yeah.
Yeah.
But in that group, when we were a small number of people, we were able to work together and learn from each other. I learned a lot about not just comics, but learned a lot about editing from different members of that group. So, that information that I gained, because I gained it for free, I always pass it on.
Respect.
I pass it on. I know because I know some guys they're at a point, and I respect this about them, but they're at a point where they get paid big money every time they sit down and talk with somebody.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've been passing the information along. Like I said, I've been talking to people for years, and there have been people out there who have been listening and who benefited. There's been people out there who say, man, that guy don't know what he's talking about. And it bothered me any because, they didn't pay me. So the advice was free, take it or leave it.
Right.
So,
Nice.
But my whole thing is I've always had that desire to help independent comic book creators become more knowledgeable about comic book creation and the whole business of comics, because the more of us that are there, the easier it'll be for more of us to get there. The more people see the quality stuff that's coming from the independent scene, the more they'll look for more independence. Yeah. So, we're actually in a position where we can control our own destiny. We just have to realize it as independent and make moves together as independents. We can move together as a unit and still maintain our independence.
I love it. It's you're absolutely spot on, man. So talking about cons, we always love to ask this. Do you have any fun celebrity stories from cons?
let's see. I'm not really a starstruck person, right?
All right.
So, and during the cons, I see people walk by, and I see them and I don't see them.
Mhm.
What I have had the opportunity to meet, I don't know. Here, all right, here you go. Biggest thing. We were at the Southwest Florida Comic Con.
Okay.
This was in Palm Beach.
Yeah.
And one of the guests that was supposed to be there didn't show up. And Alfred Page and I were sharing the table. So that first day we were there, and they were like, look, these people aren't showing up. So you all want that table? You're going to be by a guest. And we're like, yeah, cool. We'll take that table. So we get up there, and the guest that we were by was Gil Gerard, Buck Rogers himself. And it was so funny and cool at the same time because we were selling comic books left and right because people were standing in line waiting to see Gil Gerard. And the line would cross right there in front of our table. So we were like, yo, man, you got to buy a book to stand in front of my table. You're blocking people. You're blocking people. So people would buy a book and just stand there in line holding the book. So people would see other people with the book and they want to
get them.
The book is. So we sell another book. But yeah, that's probably the coolest thing, being there by Gil Gerard.
Nice. I love that. That's awesome, man. All right, Nick. I don't think I've heard from you this whole podcast. So
Yeah, Nick. What's the problem, Nick?
What you got, buddy?
Nothing. I'm on the outside. I'm not a writer, creator, or anything like that. So I'm just taking in all the experience.
You are a horror fanatic.
Yes,
I can't speak.
Well,
so ask things.
When you're looking at like picking up books for a second, it's like, what do you look for when you're selecting like who to back and who to publish and stuff like that?
Well, initially we had aspirations of being just this big publisher, publishing these, all kind of titles, all kind of genres. But what started happening was we started getting more and more notoriety and having better and better sales in the horror genre. So we decided that was where we were going to pursue. That's where we were going to go. Because there's so many other companies out there that do superheroes so much better. And it's like when you step back and get rid of your ego and things from a realistic point of view as far as being a publisher, and realize that it's just other companies out there that are doing superheroes better. And some of these people that may want to be with your company might actually do better going to a company where there's already a staple of superheroes, because that's what the consumer is looking for. Mm-hmm. We noticed when the people looked at Second Sight, they weren't looking at our superheroes, they were looking for and horror. That's just kind of where we're at now. We actually we've stopped accepting submissions, mainly because we found a sweet spot as far as the number of titles. We found a nice blend of different titles, not all horror, but definitely not as much superhero as we initially looked at. A little more fantasy here and there, but the horror thing, because that is what we as a company are known for. That is our branding, a horror company, and we take advantage of it.
So by any chance, would you have a horror book called Shook?
What is that?
What is that? Oh my God. What is that?
This was a dream project of mine. I mean, for real, it was a dream project because I always wanted to do like a big horror anthology. Like I said, I grew up reading horror, so I was familiar with books like Creepy and Eerie and things of that nature. So I always wanted to do a horror anthology. And then once again, at the World of Black Heroes, talking with all these different writers and creators, it kind of made me want to get a book and put as many of them in that book as possible. So that's where the whole idea for the anthology came up, was just wanting to put a book together with all these big name people. Always wanted to do that. And then once we hooked up with John Jennings and I, for a couple of years now, just talking back and forth and talking about horror. And about 4 years ago, John had an idea to do a magazine along with his friend Stacey Robinson, but it never came into fruition. But he held on to the title of that magazine, which was Shook. So he said, "Look, man, I not only want to contribute to this anthology, but let's use this title that I have that's just sitting, we're doing nothing with." And that's how we got Shook. That's how the anthology came to be named Shook.
Nice. So what can you tell us some of the stories that are in it? Like just kind of a quick rundown of a couple of them. What can people expect? So I know you guys did an awesome Kickstarter, and I want to ask about that next, but what are some of the stories?
Well, we have stories from Rodney Barnes. Rodney's story is The Last March. We have a couple of stories from Bradley. You get a couple of stories from me. You get a couple of stories from Kevin Grievous. You get a story from David Walker, which I'm really looking forward to David's, because his is more of a horror comedy, horror spoof type story. You get a story from Brandon Eason, and you get a story from Alvern Ball. You get a story from Evan Park, and Evan Park actually in Peter Jackson's movie King Kong. Evan Park played the captain in that movie, and Shook is his first comic book venture. Evan Park has been in American Winter Soldier, some Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Like the dude has a 20-year acting career, and
Nice.
Wow.
this is his first foray in the comics, and he's got a story he's dropping here in Shook.
Very cool. Awesome. Well, now, so I mentioned the Kickstarter. So you guys, if I remember correctly, ran a very, very, successful Kickstarter. Absolutely rocked out. Can you talk to us about, kind of how you guys pulled that off and what you guys did with it?
Well, one thing we did, we listened to the advice of people who did big Kickstarters.
Yeah.
Because they give this advice. The advice is there. One of the things we did was, and Bradley actually knows the name of this video, but this person, one of the people, was talking about the exposure that your Kickstarter got. And they said, look, if you want it to hit a certain amount of money, it needs to be talked about on a certain number of websites.
Yeah.
So that one goal was having these different websites talk about the Kickstarter, talk about the project, because the more websites that talk about it, the more exposure. Every website may not have 10 or 15K viewers. Some of them may only have 100, but that's 100 more people that's talking about it than you have. And you give that website just as much respect and just as much info as you'd give any of the other big ones. So that was one of the angles that we worked. And then just the stuff you see that everyone else does as far as the marketing and promotions on social media and looking for a certain number of engagements. One thing that Kickstarter allows you to do is fix custom tags, so you can actually track money that comes from a post that people click on.
Yeah.
So and fixing the custom tags. As you see, I'm big into statistics. I am
Yeah.
very big into statistics. So much so, I used to keep the stats for my high school basketball team. Like I'd be sitting out there with the refs writing the stats down, and they'd be like, "Okay, where's the coach who's doing that?" And the coach would be like, "No, he's got it. He's a student. He's got it." But anyway, you're big in the stats and paying attention to the numbers. And so developing the custom tags, being able to track money as it's coming, because like you have some people that'll post in a certain group, and you see that post over and over in that group, and you wonder, are people really clicking on my post? Am I really getting money? And you see that you really aren't. So you can stop spamming that group and leave them people alone. Go to the next group and see how you do in that group.
That's fun.
And but the thing is, it works because we always talk about finding our audience. We're always talking about, finding our supporters or that target audience. So you actually need some type of analytics in order to track that, so you'll know. So that's what I did. I started tracking where the money was coming from, tracking which sites where we actually were making the most money from, as per these custom tags and custom links that we were sending out. So we kind of knew what we were doing. Excuse me. Because like I said, you see a lot of people posting and posting and posting, and they really don't know if the post is doing any good. But because they don't actually pay attention to the analytics to see where or how effective their posts are, they keep doing the same thing. But it's actually strategy. You have to be more strategic. You have to really be more, I hate to use the word, but it applies to me, nerdy, because I am when it comes to those numbers. I'm very meticulous when it comes to numbers and reading charts and things of that nature. So, like I said, I came into the game with 30 years of business experience. Most important. Came into the game with 30 years of business experience. It's just a matter of more so learning comics than learning business. And when you know business, you do business.
I like that. So was this, and this wasn't y'all's first Kickstarter. You've done a couple before that, right? You did one for the Protector, I think, was it Volume 2, I think?
Yeah, I did one for the Protector Volume 2, which it took me a while to get that out because the person who was helping me run this thing ran off with the money.
Oh,
and I had to pay for it out of my own pocket. I was able to keep one of the artists who started on the book. I was able to keep him in to finish the pencils and ink. I was able to keep the colorist that started on the book, and I actually got a friend of ours, Joel Rodriguez. I brought him in to letter the book for me.
Dang, and I never heard that. Wow, that's crazy.
Right, that it's the chance you take. It's a gamble that you take working with some people, and some people get burned, some people don't. If you don't have an I got burned story, then I'm jealous because I got burned story. I got a couple. I got burned stories. But
I got one with an artist. I mean, it was just one of those situations where they wanted half up front and the other half, when they were done, and you give them the half up front and then never see anything. And since then, I just restructured my deals, and you don't get half up front. You get half of like the first 2 pages. Like you get the half of the first 4 pages. And then, we'll just kind of go from there. But I'll never do a full like half up front again.
I'm gonna have to say it. I don't know nothing of what you two are talking about. The artist that I go with, that guy's awesome. The writer that I know, he's always on point. He's a great writer. the colorist, that guy, he's like, I think he lives here.
I'm trying to figure out how to kick you out. I don't know.
The letterer who does the books and stuff for me, I think he lives next door to me. That guy, everybody lives right here in my neighborhood.
Oh, I actually can't remember you. Wow.
I never had a burn story. I don't know what you're talking about. Everybody loves me.
Good for you.
I'm like chocolate. Everybody loves chocolate.
Good for you. And artists get a hard time, and I'm not one to pile on. I'm not trying to knock the artist, but you have some guys that even after you make these agreements, and even after you sent them the money, they come back a couple months later without any work, but they got the sob story that their dog has just been rushed to the hospital and they got flat tires, and even though they know they have not done nothing for you yet, if you can just sounding like a television preacher, if you could just send me $50 more, and I will bless you 2 days later.
I'm gonna send you this piece of wood from the actual cross.
And it's like, man, I feel for you, but like, how about you send me some work first, and then I'll send you. I don't mind sending the money out, but how about some work? Just show me some work. So if you have your wife or your sister or somebody take a picture of you sitting down at the drawing table,
give me something.
Give me
proof of life.
Yeah, proof of life. I need proof of life, bro. Your fingernail, something. I need proof. Yeah, it's crazy, man. It's crazy.
I got one that just popped in my head, and I'll stop after this. But it was a dude. He hit me up. It was January last year. Hit me up, and it was an artist I had met at a con, and we had worked together before. He did a couple prints for me. I had no challenges. Everything was good. He hit me up and was just like, "Hey, man, I'm hurting for work right now. Do you need anything?" I didn't really need anything, but I was like, I had a little extra, so I was like, yeah, cool. I could use once you do 2 prints for me, and I kind of gave him some stuff I was working on. It was just, why don't you just do 2 prints? And I didn't emphasize to him that I didn't actually really need them. It was just one of those things. I didn't really need them. But to him, I was just like, yeah, give me this, here. And I paid him up front. I just paid, and I had worked with him before. I never had any issues whatsoever. So I just went ahead and paid him for both prints. Cause again, in my head, I knew he was good for it. We had legit probably done, I think 5 or 6 other prints together and never had an issue. And just ghost. He a month later sent me a sketch of something with in pencil. That was it. And then after that, again, just absolute ghost. I finally hear back from him, or he's like, oh yeah, someone stole my iPad, whatever. And then saw him he blocked me on Facebook and everything, and just anything, just complete ghost. I'm like, dude, why? I would have given you work for years and years. Why? It's whatever.
I don't know nothing what you guys are talking about. The guy I work with, he's awesome. He has nice hair. Very, very, very light skin complexion. He's an awesome artist and colorist, letterer. They're right across the street from me. I live right in my neighborhood. So
it's weird how that works out for
you. The thing is,
you ultra talented guy.
That's not. I don't know what you're talking about.
With an artist, I have a good relationship with a few artists. Yeah, because I can't draw stick figures.
Same.
I can't draw, so I need the artist, and I'm not trying to let you work for exposure. I'm trying to pay you to do some stuff for me.
So I'll pay you well. I'm gonna pay you well because I appreciate what you're doing and I need you.
Exactly. See, that's the way we writers think.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, a lot of the guys. Are you running the guy who actually doesn't intentionally ghost you, but it's just they're taking on so much work
Mhm.
because, like, this is how they make their living is drawing, and they got to have the money coming in. Like, we understand all of that, but like, it's only 30 days in the month, and you got 45 commissions,
Right.
and yet you say you only do one a day. So, okay, if you told me the end of the month and you got 45 commissions, where do I fall in? Am I number 29? Am I number 6? Or did you put me in them imaginary days in the month 31?
Well,
So,
I'm going to end this one on a positive because I've recently started working with an artist. And first off, Sergio, I love you. You're amazing. Thank you. Please never leave. So that's my artist for Sheldor. But I've started working with another artist on a project, and this dude is killing it. Like, I've never had it where, I mean, like, I did the same deal where I was like, all right, cool, I'll pay you for 2 pages. Like, you pay me, you give me 4, and I'll pay you half for the first 4, and we'll just do it in sets of 4. And he knocked out 4 pages in a week. And I was just like, wait, what? Like, what's up? Like, he was just like, yeah, cool. I'm ready for the next set. And I'm like, what? Like, I was on every like agreement I've ever done, like 4 pages, it was going to be a month. Like, I've never gotten him that quick. And it was a week. It was like a freaking week for 4 pages. And I was just like, wait, are you kidding me? And then there was like one day he didn't deliver a page. And he's like, I'm sorry, I didn't get you a page. And I'm like, don't be. It's okay. Like, it's absolutely fine. He's so far ahead of everybody else that I have working on these projects that I'm just like, it's so funny because in terms of chapters, like, I think he's doing like chapter 5 and like chapter 3 and 4 are way behind him. And I'm like, yeah, dude, you're good. Like, you have such a, like, you're so far ahead of these guys. Like, I can't put your chapter out until theirs are done. So like, it's fine.
oh yeah, they out there. The artist that I had for Shook, for example, this is my first time working with him. And
You mean the shirt you're wearing? That artist who did that?
That title. That's
the one. That's the one.
Everyone should go check out. Yeah.
This guy was, man, he very professional. He was like, okay, I'll have 3 pages for you in such and such a time. And when that time came, he'd have the 3 pages. You know what I mean? It was such a pleasure to work with him that he kind of got me spoiled because I want everything to be like that now.
Mm-hmm.
I want it to go as professional as it went. Like, and just like with your artist, he's like, okay, I'm gonna have something for you on this day, and he didn't have it on that day. I got it the next day, and he's like, oh man, I'm sorry, I missed the deadline by a day. And I'm like, dude, come on, man. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I rushed you to get it done.
Like, it is okay.
Your thing, man.
You keep going. You miss by one day, you still hit the home run. You know, so you still the good one. So you're good to go.
Look, okay, you didn't knock it 100 feet over the fence. You only did 50 feet over the fence. We still good.
Well, so like, how much extra time do you work into your deadlines? Because like, I'm to a point now where I work like, I mean, I tell somebody I need it done like 2 months before I actually need it done, because like just of how long things have been delayed in the past. So like, for me, I work so much extra time in that, you know, if they miss their deadline by a little bit, I'm fine. But unfortunately, sometimes I'll work 2 months in and they still miss that.
Well, I'm at the point now where I don't make actual plans until the book. But fortunately enough, I've been able to work with guys where, you know, after they read the script, then they determine how many days or how long it's going to take them.
Yeah.
And then from that point, I might add another week or 2 on top of it, just in case, you know, they have an upset stomach or a case of married, they look at the table too long, want to take me out someplace, or, you know, go play with the kids, because, you know, we have real lives. We do have real lives.
True.
And you have to factor that in. You know, you don't want to just drive a person to work because the quality of the artwork suffers.
Very true. Very true.
Ultimately, you want a quality project going out.
Completely agree. You know, again, there's artists that are completely worth that. I mean, like I can't tell you again. There's multiple artists that I've worked with where, you know, yeah, they missed the deadline, but the art was so amazing. Like honestly, I didn't care. It's just like okay, whatever. I mean, like you get it done when you get it done. Like it's gonna be great. So fantastic.
I agree with you guys. When I see good artwork, I'm shook myself personally.
You're fired.
I just want to say that.
You're done.
Totally shook. I see it. I'm like, wow.
I'm walking away now.
I'm shook. That's awesome artwork.
But you know, I understand once you go behind that red door, that you start shaking.
My God. You too.
Well, like I tell everybody, you shouldn't go there. My imagination is a dangerous place. You shouldn't go there by yourself. So you should always have a chaperone when you go behind the red door, because if that door is shut, that's your ass. It's a little it's you, and I can't control what goes on behind that red door. So, you know, I'm shook. Really, I am. That's all I can see in front of my face right now. I'm shook, literally. It's a good shaking. That's past tense from shook. Shooken, shaken, stirred. Okay, good.
So when we cut this into a clip, I'm gonna put a counter for every time you say shook. That's what we're gonna have rolling the whole time.
Every time I say shook, you take a shot.
Like,
you know?
Oh yeah, somebody's hammered right now.
Somebody's totally shook and stirred right now. But you know, Marcus, you're a great guy, man. You've taught us. You've only given us a little bit of what you know. We don't appreciate that. We brought you on here so you could spill all the beans. We didn't want to have to pay for it. So what else you got for us, Marcus? Because you're great. We're going to stroke your ego until you tell us everything. Go on.
Here's the last thing I'm going to leave you with. The last thing I'm going to leave you with is support indie comics.
So, mic drop.
Because
mic drop.
We are we're out there grinding and hustling, trying to make it happen.
Without violent creatures, if you don't support us, we will find you. We know where you live. We have your email address. Support indie comics. Thank you.
I got nothing. I don't even know what to say anymore. Okay. Oh, I love it. I love it. No, man, look, you're spot on. And it's interesting, again, kind of the way you bring it up. But, you know, there's a lot of ways to support, too. And I think sometimes everybody always looks at the money side of it. You know, and I'll kind of take it a step further. Like, you know, obviously, look, just give them a like, give them a share, give them a subscribe. You know, show the love. If there's a Kickstarter, back to Kickstarter. You know, things along those lines. But you can do a lot to support in a lot of different ways. And anybody who's doing indie comics, you know, I mean, yeah, look, I think if you can show them that love and take care of them, you know, they'll always appreciate it. You know, maybe they'll put your dog in their book or something along those lines. It'll be cool. It'll be fun. But yeah, I agree. I think, you know, if you can get out there and support anybody, and look, take that even further, right? Indie comics, yes, like 100%, we want you to support that, but just support the small businesses around you. Like, take it even a little step further. Like, you got somebody that opens up a hot dog shop. You go buy hot dogs for lunch every Monday. Like, come on.
Yeah. Well, you know, we talked about cons. Mm-hmm. Oftentimes, cons, we see a lot of small business owners that they try to get outside of the top because of the competition that they have with other stores. So they try to create different revenue streams. Yep. And doing cons and doing events and doing shows are another way that they use to create another revenue stream. Yep. So, yeah, support small business, support indie comics. Let's support, man. Show your support. Like, share, talk about. If even just talking about your best friend or your wife's coworker or your nephew or whoever it is that's creating comic books that has their own business, talking about that to other people, spreading the word around, that helps us just as much.
Completely agreed. All right, so where can we find some? If I want to pick up, the Second Sight, line of books, where can I get them right now?
You can go to secondsightpublishing.com. That is our website. You see books listed there. For the Mississippi Zombie, Harvest of Horror, that's Caliber Entertainment. You can actually hit Amazon up. They're sold in all the major bookstores. Shook, actually, we're in the process of working a publishing deal for it. So here in the upcoming weeks, look for a major announcement involving that title.
All right, very, very cool. All right, and then I know we kind of already touched on this a little bit, but any last just advice for anybody who's looking to get into this industry, they're looking to start in comic books, start going to cons, any advice for those newcomers that are out there trying to make it happen?
Yeah, just something real simple. Just get out there and do it. Look, there it is.
There it is. There it is.
Yeah, just get out there and do it. I didn't put that book out, and as I said, that was my first comic book. Didn't put that book out until I was 53 years old.
Nice.
So
I don't know that one.
Yep, there's Project Titan. So yeah, just do it.
Another one too.
Yep.
Yep.
Now, just show you, I keep all these talented people within arm's reach because I have no talent.
You have all the talent. You
It's like right there.
Right there.
Right there.
All right.
I'm shook though. I don't have shook over here yet though, but there's a major broadcast coming out about that soon. So
yes.
It's as a matter of fact, just find me at a con, and when the book come out, find me at a con, and I'll make sure you get you a nice autographed copy.
So what cons do you have coming up? What are you guys doing?
Well, I'm actually supposed to be heading out at the end of this month to WonderCon.
Nice.
Got a couple of panels that I'm supposed to be on there. Got the Olo Con there in April.
Yeah.
Got my eye on the Ekbok Con in Philly in May. And the Black Age of Comics in June.
Awesome. Are you guys gonna do Tampa in July?
In July, toward the end of the month, we have San Diego.
Yeah.
I'm looking at going out there. But if I don't go out there, then there's the Urban Nerd Con in Atlanta, Georgia.
All right. Very cool. Very cool.
You're a very popular young man. Very nice, man.
I'm trying to get out there. I'm doing more out of state this year than normally, because normally I'm like all up and down the I-4 corridor from Daytona to Tampa, DeLand, Orlando, Kissimmee, Plant City. I'd go everywhere along the I-4 corridor. Go up and down I-75 and hit up places like Sarasota and Bradenton and maybe go to Clearwater, somewhere along in there. So I do a lot of local stuff.
I'll say there's enough shows in South Florida that you literally could do a show every weekend.
Yeah, every month you could do one. Two a month you could do them if you want know when they're dropping them.
That's something that I have a lot of people outside, a lot of the comic book creators outside of the state talk about with me, is how in their particular state they don't have cons like that.
No.
And then I tell them, look, you do a con a month, you can do easily 15 to 20 cons in the course of a year, because I know guys, and you all know some people too, that is their job. That's all they do is cons.
Yeah. Yep. You never have to leave Florida. You'd be good.
Yeah. I mean, and we didn't even talk about places like Ocala and Pensacola and Jacksonville.
Yep, Jacksonville. Yep.
Jacksonville's this weekend, Collective Con. Yeah. So
So-
no, this is good stuff.
Yeah, this is a great place to be for a comic book creator, and then it's a lot of support as well.
Agreed.
I have done pop-up events that ordinarily you might think you wouldn't find comic book people, and those have been some real solid shows
Yeah.
because people really support comics. They really buy comics here.
Yeah, man, it's a great community here, and I mean, I think again, even just the writers, the artists within the community are absolutely amazing, and then there's a lot of people that are looking for interesting stories. I can't tell you how many times people have come and bought from me, and they're just like, hey, yeah, you're independent, right? Okay, cool, I want your stuff. And I'm like, well, do you want to hear about it? They're like, no, I just want new books. So like, I'm going to give you a read, man. I want to see what you did, and just like, oh, okay, cool, awesome, fantastic. Like, it feels weird that they buy it without me doing my pitch. Like, I'm just like, wait, what just happened?
Never question those people. They are wise.
I'm the opposite though. Honestly, I'm like, wait, are you sure? Are you sure? Like, you haven't heard? Are you sure?
I'll be like, I believe in you.
I talk myself out of the sale.
No, I'll be like, here's another. Go down to that table down, Marcus. He has more books. Go to Todd's table. Him and Nick, those guys are awesome. They have so many stories. They're telling a story right now. Just go listen and just give them your money.
Yeah, walking to my table with their Roku poster.
There you go. There you go.
Roku.
Yeah.
Wait, you see what I have next to go with Roku and Brogita. I got some more coming out there with that too.
I can't wait. I'm excited. So, all right, you guys got any final questions for Marcus?
Marcus, go ahead, Nick, because mine is a simple question.
So make a recommendation for me something I can check out. So I am a big horror fan. And I love the old cult classics, the old school 80s movies, Evil Dead, stuff like that. So what's something to check out for me?
All right, definitely the Mississippi Zombie. That's old school style EC Comics. Just imagine the zombie apocalypse hits, but only in the state of Mississippi. So you have zombie stories from all corners of the state of Mississippi. Even with the Harvest of Horror, that's a collection of horror stories, and all these are by independent comic book creators. So you got some people who you may not have heard of, but in reading stories, you definitely want to look at and follow. From Second Sight, our biggest seller was These Damn Kids. We have issue 1 done. Issue 2 is in the lettering stage and should be out shortly. Bradley and I have a title we started called Sunny, which is our version of Chucky except better. If Chucky was a straight up killer, he'd be Sunny. So
I like it.
Then
I like it.
we actually have the title Arisian, which is a good title. That's Bradley's version of John Carpenter's The Thing. You have a series of Leave on the Light that Bradley did with Antarctic Press. We had the trades of those, but you can still find issues, the issue 1, 2, and 3 around. Same as the Cold Blooded. It's been collected into a trade, but you can still find the issues 1, 2, and 3 around for that. And that's the horror stuff we do. It's a little more, but if you can get any of that, you're good.
All right, Marvin, what you got?
I just wanted to ask Marcus, why are you so great?
Because I followed the Swerve playbook.
So you tapped into the Swerve force too? So that's a very powerful universal force that flows through our world. It's incredible. I can channel it to you, but you're on your way. Yeah.
I tapped into the Swerve force. I'm telling you. Look, I took the pebble out of your hand, and you allowed me to leave.
Listen here, Grasshopper. Don't even play with me like
Oh, I love it all.
That's all I have to say, sir. Mark, I'm glad we had you on, man. You're a breath of fresh air, man. We know you're wise and all powerful. So I will go and put a third candle behind your shrine, and I will throw oil all over your photo. Back to you, Todd.
I just want to say thanks for joining us. I really appreciate it. It's a lot of fun chatting with you. I love seeing you at shows. I wish you nothing but success, man. And just again, thank you for joining us and having fun.
Oh man, I'm glad to be here. I hope you all invite me back.
Oh,
We
definitely.
will, because if
Definitely.
not, we'll be shook if we don't invite you back.
You're fired.
End it there.
Yeah. Night, everybody. Have a great one. We're done.
All right.
Be shook.
Shook.